just sent a quick text to Kurt, but we can get things started. Anything that, I think there's maybe one thing that we could vote on, but if we don't, that's okay. We can table it. I can probably just send an email to Chris to move it to the select board on. So Chris, just as a matter of formality, I have the address I have to make before. Do I have to do that before we call to order, or does it matter? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as a preliminary matter, this is Daniel Crossan, Chair of the Grafton Affordable Housing Trust. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Elizabeth Hayes.
Hi, yes.
Jennifer Thomas.
Jennifer Thomas here.
Yes. And Chris McGoldrick.
Here.
Great. Good evening. This open meeting of the Town of Grafton Affordable Housing Trust is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website at www.graftonmass.gov, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting, will feature public comment if it's available. For this meeting, the Affordable Housing Trust is convening by Zoom, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and that the care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along unless posted agenda, using the posted agenda unless I, the chair, note otherwise. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, the chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items of public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first read public comments, questions received in advance of the meeting, followed by real-time board and/or participant responses. Public comments during the meeting will be conducted through the chat feature. The chair will read real-time comments, questions typed by computer participants in the chat feature, followed by real-time board applicant responses. Finally, if each vote taken will be by roll call. And so that concludes that. We call to order the May 14th, 2020 meeting of the Grafton Affordable Housing Trust. We don't have minutes. I was chasing those down this week, so we'll obviously table those. I'm going to hold off on Daffodil Court for now too. I'll move that to the end of the meeting because that is something that would require a vote. We don't have a quorum without Kerr here, so I'm going to move that to the end of the meeting. So we'll jump right to discussion items. The first item we have is regarding Pine Street. So just to give a little bit of background, this is really more for Elizabeth and who's here and anyone else who'll be listening. So this Pine Street refers to the property more formally remembered as the Grafton State Hospital land, which the town has put out an RFP for purchase. It looks like it's starting to really come to fruition there. There is some proposals that have been made. And just more for informational purposes, the town administrator has been very transparent with me. I got to see the RFP when it went out, got to see the aspects of affordable housing that were being sort of built into the direction the town wanted to go in. And I've been invited to participate in an interview process with some of the finalists, which, we're not going to get into some of those details here tonight, but there is a lot of potential and a lot of, could be a lot of exciting opportunities to develop affordable housing in general with these developments. So I just wanted to kind of, bring that to the trust's attention. In this, we may be asking one of the finalists or the finalists, whoever's chosen, to maybe come and give a brief conversation with the trust and meet us, talk a little bit about what they're doing and what the plans are, and that would be at a future date. I'll invite any comment or questions that anyone may have at this point.
Hi, I'll just say,
Go ahead.
thanks, Jan.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a really exciting opportunity. I think that it also reflects the work that the Affordable Housing Trust has done in past years. I think that the culture of when we're looking to develop property in Grafton, I think the work of this trust and the planning that you've done years ago has really helped shape this development and why going forward, how we look to add affordable units. And a lot of that has to do with the work that the trust has done in past years before I was on the trust, but just the whole culture of, yes, we have this great piece of property. We would like to see development on it. We'd like to see some mixed use, but we really need some affordable units. And so I think it's really exciting. I think we're going to get a lot of affordable units there, which is great for the people in town that need those affordable units. So I think that, sorry, I'm going on and on, but I just think sometimes the work that the trust does isn't recognized, because there might not be, it might not be tangible, but I still think that the trust has been instrumental in shaping that culture of let's get some more affordable units. So just wanted to say you guys have done a good job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Elizabeth, do you have any comments or questions on the development or concerns?
No, I just want to say that I think this is a really great use of this particular piece of property. I think it's an excellent, it's in an excellent place in relation to Route 30 and Route 20. And of course the railroad. So I'm really excited about this personally.
Okay. Any further questions, comments? Yeah, I would just say that, to kind of echo a little bit about what Jen was saying is that it's a lot is starting to come to fruition around affordable housing. And it's not that I think there was a lot of resistance to it. It was just the right opportunity, the right time. And having the ability to work with these developers is going to be significant. It's the most bang for our buck and the fastest way to get where we need to. They know how to build, and something this extensive and large requires that expertise and partnership with the town and all the bodies around the town. So, yeah, it's quite exciting. It could be a really great opportunity. I'm looking forward to see how it develops and reporting back to the trust in the next month or so as to what we see and what happens, and then again potentially bringing the finalist or the one that the developer that is chosen, maybe invite them to or representation to come and speak to the trust about how they plan to build in affordable housing to this development. And we'll know at that point, we'll have a better understanding about the impact and that's going to have on our SHI. And of course, understanding that it's a long process and there's a lot of engineering that has to happen, a lot of work that goes into this, but it could be a significant increase in the number of affordable units that we'll have. So this time I'll invite any further comment on Pine Street. Okay, I want to move on to the next item, which I think we might be able to have a little bit more discussion on, and it's really, this is the main reason I wanted to have this meeting, and I want to get us meeting again more regularly, and that's regarding developing local emergency rental assistance. So a few weeks back, I was reached out to by members of the CPA and town officials, and Jen was involved as well, and we had a meeting, kind of just threw some ideas around seeing what was going on in the state of the economy, what was happening as a result of COVID-19, and what it could mean to housing and to people's ability to stay in their houses, specifically with regards to their rental units. As we know, or as we may know, there's a moratorium on foreclosures and evictions that's going to last probably to maybe the end of the summer. So there's sort of this effort underway, and it's happening throughout the state, to sort of find a way to use CPA money to help develop rental assistance, emergency rental assistance. The Affordable Housing Trust it's not necessary that the Affordable Housing Trust do it, but we sort of have a little bit more of an interest. Most of the folks that would be impacted would probably be the people who qualify for affordable housing. There may be people who are living in affordable housing right now. So there's a lot to kind of work out. We were on a meeting that was hosted by Mass Housing Partnership, and the chapel was involved as well. There's a lot of great speakers and panelists to talk about, how this could be done. It's so a lot of folks are at a sort of an early stage with it, but what we're thinking is that this would be an emergency, short-term program, but we'd have to budget it, have a better understanding of, how we're doing it. It wouldn't necessarily be the trust members monitoring making all of the decisions, because this is a little bit deep, and it involves a little bit more than, what we do, and, our level of experience with that. So there are agencies that have a lot more experience with this and understanding, and so we'd be looking for partnerships there. But again, we'd have to kind of assess what the need is in town. This would be impacting or helping predominantly people who aren't already part of some kind of assistance program. I mean, this is for folks who are directly impacted by what's happening in the economy right now. There's a lot. I mean, and I think, Elizabeth, and I think, and Jen, you were maybe in some of these meetings as well. So I'm just going to open up the floor. Elizabeth, do you want to talk about a little bit about what you learned and what your thoughts were?
I know that a lot of people, at least last time I checked, there weren't really any requests for assistance. So I don't know if that's a question of needing to get more advertising out there.
Right.
Because then if we have an idea of how many people need assistance, then we'd have a better idea of how much money we need to put into this fund, and how the whole thing's going to be managed.
Jen, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I really am excited about this as well, because it seems like a perfect fit for the Affordable Housing Trust. Again, another reason, Dan, that you didn't mention, but to use other town funds or CPA funds, that money would have to be approved at town meeting. So this would just be another step where the trust has easier access to their funds. I believe to date, I think I saw the numbers that Joanne Duncan had sent out. I think, CPA has contributed over $700,000 to the Affordable Housing Trust. So there should be enough money. And Elizabeth as she said, we don't know of any, nobody's requested the need yet.
Yeah, we don't know, and it may be the kind of thing where people, and as Elizabeth said, they don't see it. It's not advertised, not promoted. They're not going to be reaching out. So we don't know. And some folks are, it's not going to become evident till sometimes it's too late. So we're just kind of getting prepared for it and thinking, what could this look like? What could it be? I guess from my perspective, there's some metrics we might be able to identify. I mean, we have a lot of folks in rental units on our SHI now, but a lot of those folks are maybe in elder housing that they have rental assistance already. They're not likely to suffer eviction or have any of those issues. But I don't know, what the other number of units are, rental units in general, not necessarily just affordable housing rental units, but rental units in general there are in town. I mean, Chris, I don't know if that's something we could even get our arms around, but I think if you were to look at that and say, well, what's the percentage that we could anticipate of folks that might need help? I think we'd probably have to start there. With regards to CPA money, and again, yes, CPA money can be used for these kind of purposes, with or without the Affordable Housing Trust. So, but the trust has sort of an interest in affordability. We should lay out also that if we provide rental assistance, that's not creating affordable units. It's not deed restricting properties. That's not what we would be doing, which is a little bit going off of our mission to some degree. But as Jen noted, we're sitting on a substantial amount of funds that we get every year, and we've been waiting for projects such as these developments and other things that are coming. So we do have funds there, and to get started, and that would help the town right off the bat. And I know that the CPA would work to help us recover any of those funds as best they could, because technically speaking, the money that we get, our mission is to develop and retain and maintain affordable housing. But in this time, it's an emergency situation, and we don't want to see people losing their housing, being put out on the street. But I think there's some things, and I don't know if Chris, if you want to jump in as well. I mean, there are partnerships like with CMRPC and other agencies that have that, like as I spoke to, have the level of expertise as how to administer a program like this, which we'd be out of our depth with. Of course, there's going to be a fee for that to some degree, but they would probably do it the most effectively and efficiently. Chris, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head there. I think talking about, I was recently.
Sorry, I'm back.
I was recently in a meeting with hosted by CMRPC with some of the other towns, their planning departments and housing committees, looking at regional housing needs. So obviously, it was a little broader than just the COVID response, but looking at affordable housing was one of the major topics that we were talking about, and especially in the context of COVID now. And I think you're absolutely right that developing concise metrics of where the need is important, as well as kind of what was discussed here already, is that the Affordable Housing Trust is in a unique position over CPA funds, which they're both eligible, but the Affordable Housing Trust funds are more flexible and more fluid because they don't need the town meeting vote. So in terms of filling gaps in existing programs quickly, that's where those funds would be most effective. So those are the real key things, is finding the metrics to develop what are the needs, and then on the other side of it, finding what are the gaps in the existing programs, because there are a lot of existing programs that may already be suited or have the capacity to expand into addressing some of the needs that we identify. But being able to support those and fill those gaps or provide the funding to expand those resources, those existing resources. Those are going to be the most effective ways of kind of generating additional support.
So I know we started doing some research and we've had a couple of meetings. I know the CPA is meeting again in May. I don't know how fast we're looking to get something off the ground. But I want to try to identify sort of next steps. We know one of the first steps was to say, how much money do we have? I haven't had a treasurer on the Affordable Housing Trust in a little bit. So I knew I had some CPA money. I wasn't quite sure that I didn't realize it was quite that high. But we identified that. We're like, okay, we've got a lot of funds there, and so to me, like the next step would be to kind of try to say, okay, who could this be helping? Because the concern is once you go out and you say we're gonna do this, and we're gonna have a program. If we put it out there and we don't have the structure in place and the logistics in place, the way I would put it is, it's like ringing a dinner bell. Everybody is going to want rental assistance, and it has to be definable along hardship and how they've been impacted and where their income is now and that kind of thing. I'm at the credit union. We have this knowledge of this from folks who are right now having trouble with their mortgages, or that we get phone calls, and every bank in the world is getting calls. So we have to kind of have a process of working out where the need is and what we do from there. And that's where I think, the regional agencies that have involved can really help. I'm just trying to figure out, I know the CPA is meeting again. We're kind of in this, we're kind of middle ground. We know we have some funds. We know it's, we don't have the restrictions. We can use it. But we need to kind of get our arms around, where we're at and need. So again, Chris, I think the thing for me is outside of the rental units in town that are that have some kind of rental assistance already. Like, what are they? I don't even know how many. I couldn't tell you how many. Just not even affordable units, just any kind of unit. And then I'd start there. I mean, obviously, the affordable people might be the first ones to need help, but we don't know that.
Yeah, I don't have that information on hand, but that's definitely something that we can look into developing, using the property records and get a better idea of, how many rental units in town are there, what's the makeup of that. And we can really drill down into some of that detail and get that started.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be great. We've what we learned in the Zoom meetings we went to with MHP and CHAPA was there are some communities that have a head start on this, and probably because they have a completely different demographic, and they're challenged by issues that we're not regularly challenged by. This is a tsunami for a town like Grafton that's never for many years has been I don't want to say untouchable, but in a pretty good position. There was some folks from Salem. I mean, they have obviously a much more diverse community, a very different demographic, and they have a heightened awareness about these issues. They're not exactly like Grafton, but they seem to have like basically a short-term program that they were developing. Are there other communities as well that we could talk to, or that would be good to reach out to?
Yeah, I think that's part of the benefits of CMRPC and those discussions is that we are already kind of having those conversations with other towns, but everything right now is still kind of a bit of a moving target. So I think we'll have to continue to have those discussions, and we'll kind of keep in the loop. But through CMRPC, a lot of the town's staff has been kind of commingling and discussing, not just in regards to housing, but just response to all the things going on. So we'll continue to do that.
So for the trust, I mean, I have some websites and some links that I received for informational purposes. I'll push that out to the trust members so they can get a little bit more of a background. Is there anything else we can do or should be doing as trust members, for the next month or two as we try to figure this out?
I think, yeah, I think just staying available, because I think there's still going to be a lot of discussion. We still have to coordinate with CPA and find those metrics of where the need is. But once we start nailing that down, that's when we'll be able to start to figure out and identify where we can really create effective solutions to the issues that we're identifying. So we're still very much at the beginning of this process, but
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think just getting as much information out as you can at this point, getting people to get involved as much as possible, view the meetings and come to the town resources. The website is being updated constantly with a lot of information and resources, and just keeping people in the loop and keeping them informed is going to be the key right now.
Yeah. And I think probably, keeping in touch with, landlords, understanding where they're at. I know we don't probably have a master list of who they are, but, those are the folks who, if we get to a rental assistance program, you're not writing a check to the person living in the unit. If they qualify, the assistance it's sent to the landlord. That's to make sure the rent is paid. And it's just getting an idea of like, what does the rental assistance look like? Is it the rent? Is it a portion of the rent? What is it? And we'll get a sense about that, and then we can kind of budget. I mean, we do have some funds that are there that we can work with, but we'll, more to come. We'll just keep looking at it. I'll send the information that I've had out. If I see anything come up from the agencies about, updates on rental assistance, I'll push it out to the trust to kind of at least be looking at and being aware of. So, Jen, go ahead.
Thanks. I apologize. I lost my internet connection, so if I missed this while I was gone, I apologize. But in these meetings with other towns and other organizations, is there anybody that's kind of stepping up? Like, could we hire or give a percentage or some sort of, like, if there's a community, even if it's not necessarily close to us, that already has a system down that knows how to vet them and make sure that it's it's a correct use, and if there's any way to, if we could pay them some sort of small amount to kind of handle it for us, it might be worth the money just because we're such a small community. I just didn't know if you had talked about that yet.
Yeah, we didn't, but I mean, that's kind of in looking and filling the gaps, and that's part of how we were talking earlier, where the real, I think, key is going to be to identify the existing programs and kind of getting a better picture of the services and consultants that are already doing a lot of this work. Because, I mean, the needs aren't necessarily new. There's already a lot of kind of affordable housing services and rental assistance services that are out there. It's really just, given the current context, how do we expand those services? And so there are, private housing consultants that a lot of times help to place individuals, or if someone with an affordable unit is, marketing that and selling it, they usually do a lot of that work. And so they're used to doing the vetting of taking in the applications, doing the background paperwork to identify the income requirements. So if those programs are expanded, there's already, people trained in that capacity that, it's not necessarily going to be a huge lift for them to expand their existing services. Whereas, to train or bring new people on and fund a position, that would be a bigger lift. So there's ways of cost sharing in that kind of manner that would make the services, the existing services, a lot more effective, and they can be expanded to do programs that if we come up with that we could tail into those. So when those get more clearly identified, I think that's where we'll have a better picture of how to do that.
Let me just check. I think I might have one question.
Yep. Yeah, there's a Q&A. Do you want me to read that?
Sure. Can you say it or you want me to?
I can read it.
Go ahead.
So this is Dan Kusher, 6 Lordvale Boulevard. He says, I'm a little confused. Why is the amount of CPA funds that have been given to the trust relevant? Is the issue that other funds cannot be used for this? And are AHT funds received from CPA restricted in any way?
Well, the funds that we receive are restricted in that they have to be used generally for affordable housing. But I don't think the amount is necessarily relevant. I mean, we were having these conversations before we knew, we knew there was some funds there, a good amount, but I don't think that was the main thing. It was really that we have the funds. It was, this conversation started in April. And there's the affordability component and the agencies that we tend to work with that really kind of falls into the Affordable Housing Trust wheelhouse. And there's a partnership we have with the CPA. So it's really, I don't think this was driven necessarily by that. There's a lot of elements of what the Affordable Housing Trust does that tied to this. When we went to these meetings, there were affordable housing advocates that were definitely a part of the conversation and that were part of that meeting. So I'll yield the floor. Does anyone else have any additional comment? Okay. That's the only. Do we have one more? Let me just check.
No, it was a thank you from Dan Kusher.
Oh, great. Thanks, Dan. So I only have a couple. Does anyone else do you have any other comments or questions on the rental assistance program? Okay, so I'll forward any of the emails that I have to the trust. We'll just stay in touch. I know there's a CPA meeting coming up at the end of the month. We don't have a whole lot to report on. We'll see. If we do, we'll maybe have a joint meeting at that time or later. We'll find out as we go along. We have a need for that. What I want to try to do is establish just a little bit more of a regular meeting pattern. We had, obviously we had the transition with Joe. We had periods where we didn't have a lot to talk about. We weren't meeting every single month, and I want to try to get back to meeting a little bit more regularly. Doesn't necessarily mean we have to meet every month. I'm not interested in making people come to meetings for half an hour for no reason. Especially, Chris, you've got a life. I'd rather not force people to come out at 8 o'clock at night for a meeting that's not substantive. But we do have some things that are going on right now, specifically with Pine Street. We don't know down the near future, there could be some things happening with Fisherville Mill. I'm sure stuff's on hold right now, but that could be coming up, and that may need our attention more so even than Pine Street. There's something I missed here. Oh, you know what, Chris? I didn't talk about Depot Street, and I, if you don't have anything to prepare, that's okay. I didn't really circle back with you. That had been an agenda item of ours in the past, and if you feel comfortable, kind of giving us an update as to where that's at, that would be great. If not, we can bring it up in the near future. Do you have anything at this point?
No, I think not at this point. It's kind of still an ongoing. Do you want to give me a?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think what had happened was, if I could find a letter, I think Joe may have, before he left, might have been trying to see if this property could be transferred to the Affordable Housing Trust. I don't have my email in front of me. What I'll do is I'll look at whatever he had and I'll forward that over to you. We can have for future discussion.
Okay.
That makes more sense. Sorry about that. I put that on there and I meant to circle back with you, but
That's right.
a little
Yep.
different world we're in. So I'm looking at trying to meet again in June. Again, I don't anticipate we're going to be meeting throughout the summer, but with everything happening with Pine Street, I think we're going to have some things to come back to about that. We might have more to talk about with rental assistance and some other things. So how does everyone, if everyone has their calendar available, can we look at, I have Wednesday, June 3rd on my count it's a second Wednesday, I think, in June. And I'm open for that. Is any, Elizabeth, how does that sound for you?
That's fine.
Okay, great. Jen?
Yes, it's so different now, right? Because I don't look at my calendar as much as I used to, so
We don't even
I
know
knew
what
there
day
was-
it is.
I knew I had something early June, but it's on the 4th. So yeah, so June 3rd I can do. Yep.
Okay.
I did have a quick question for Chris. Is there an update on Fisherville or no? Do we know, is it just kind of stalled?
Yeah, not at this time. So we're still it's kind of stalled at this point. There's not too much progress on it. We've been kind of trying to juggle other aspects, but it is still on the task list. So
Okay.
we do have another Q&A that I could read.
Okay.
Did-
Did you see that, Chris? I just opened it up.
Yep. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
So this is Margaret Haynes. I have a question relating to something that is not on the agenda. I'm wondering why a citizen's petition is being used to convey 25 Worcester Street to the AHT. What is the normal way property would be conveyed? 25 Worcester Street. Is that High Point Estates?
No, it's 25 Worcester Street. It's the grass field kind of as you go up the hill towards the common on the right.
This has been a piece of property that's been sitting vacant since before I was born. It's been that long. It was the old high school years ago. When I first came on the trust, there was an effort to obtain that land from the town, and we went in different directions. We did other things. Obviously, the working with the developers is the first, probably the easiest way to get things done. But yes, there's a citizen petition that's been started. It's not necessarily something that has to be driven by the Affordable Housing Trust. I can't say that I'm an authority on how these things are conveyed to anyone. I don't know that, so I'm not going to speak to exactly how citizens petitions work. I'm just not an expert on it. Jen, I yield the floor to you.
Hi. Well, any citizen with 10 signatures can put an article on the town meeting warrant. And so typically when articles go on the town meeting warrant, they are brought forth by citizen petition is one way, or through committees, or the Board of Selectmen or the town administrator can put some on. Planning board can put articles on the warrant. Typically they do zoning articles. So this is just another way that somebody can put, if there's something that they feel like is important, it's a way that they can put it on the warrant. It is just a little, because there is an affordable housing trust. I would have liked to have seen it come through us, to have the individual come and talk to the trust about it. and have the trust put it on the warrant, because then we could come up with a plan and figure out if the timing's right. I kind of like the way the process worked with 8 Pine, where we put the property out for a request for proposal, and we were able to put affordable housing as a requirement in that RFP, and then, you know, the information comes back. We don't have to sell it to anybody. So something like that would have been the process, I think. If we do feel like we'd like to see some affordable housing at 25 Worcester, there's definitely other ways to go about it. And I hope I'm answering the question.
Sure. Does anyone else have any comments or questions regarding 25 Worcester?
It just seems kind of like an unusual place to put housing, you know, in terms of traffic. I don't know what else the land could be used for. But I'm not sure how feasible that would be either.
Yeah, I think, you know, the concern with that piece of land has been about density. You know, I don't see, you know, someone putting up 100 units there. You know, that's probably not, you know, I'm not an engineer, but I would have a hard time seeing a really large number of units going in there. But it is residential, so it's not a lot of other, there's not a lot of other things you could do with it. I think it's very much in a residential community. It's, you know, right off the, you know, a few blocks away from the centerpiece of the town. So it kind of makes sense that it would be in that ballpark. It'd be some kind of residential development. What the scope of it would be, it's too hard to say. You know, if it was transferred to the trust, we would have to follow sort of the similar pattern that the town's done, and we would put it out for RFP. And you know, they've done a very good job now. I mean, we have a lot. We've learned a lot from these processes. What's gone on with what's happening with Pine and what's happening elsewhere. So there's a lot of the good thing there is there's some expertise, and there would obviously be a partnership with the town. This wouldn't be the Affordable Housing Trust on its own doing it. We would definitely be working with the town and trying to get something done. And what that would look like and what it would be, it's not our land yet. We don't know. So that would be, it could be something exciting, but it would open for a lot of development. I will just say that just for to be transparent, the individual who put that out there did give me a heads up on it, that it was going to happen. I mean, but it was, between meetings here, and it was just more of a courtesy so that I would understand that was happening. Does anyone else have anything further on that? Okay, so I'll get a notice out for June 3rd, so everyone knows. The only other thing that I want to kind of throw out there, and this is kind of came up for me today. I reached out to one of our members who I knew wasn't really going to be coming back, Mary Campbell, and I just kind of asked her to confirm for me that she was whether she was resigning or not. So she has. So I'll forward that along to the town. So she will be, when we acknowledge that she's officially resigned from the Affordable Housing Trust. What that does, though, is it leaves us with 2 open positions, which, if there's someone here watching tonight who has an interest in affordable housing, we're happy to hear from you and kind of open to bringing new people in. The way to do that, if you go through the town's website, there is a site for boards and committee information center, and you can find out the information you need there if you wanted to be considered to be on the trust. So I just want to get that out there, and for the trust members as well. We know if there's folks that could be interested. I'm trying to reach out to a couple folks, and this is a pretty consistent thing. We're always recruiting people can stay on for a committee for 2 or 3 years and move on. And Mary certainly did a great job for us, and wish her the best. She was terrific and served us well and did a lot of great things while she was here. So I'm going to miss her, but I wanted to thank her for her contribution that she made. With that, does anyone else have anything to bring before the chair? Yes, Jen, I yield the floor to you.
Thanks. I just wanted to know if we were going to go back to Daffodil Court. Is there something we have to do before the select board meeting?
Yeah, no, ordinarily, and this is for you, Elizabeth, I don't think you've seen this quite a bit, but what happens when there's a property that is it's deed restricted and the owner's selling it, that we're notified. And what we essentially do is we as a group, we vote to authorize the town to execute its right of first refusal. Essentially, what we're trying to do is make sure that property retains its deed restriction. So ordinarily, we like to bring these before the trust to vote on and do it that way. But if there's a 90-day timeline on this, so typically, we've given the chair authority to comment and basically let the select board know that they can go forward with that. So my goal here was to vote on it tonight, but if we can't, what I'll do is I'll put it, and I have the language, I'll get a notice to Chris and to move it along to the select board. So we're not holding this up for 3 months because there's a timeline and we want to make sure that everything stays in place. So that was that. I was hoping to vote, but if not, we have ways to keep things going. Yeah, that was it. That was the only item that I was hoping to vote on. If there's nothing else to bring before the trust, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
There's another question in the Q&A.
Oh, there is. All right. Sorry. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, we do have the one more, and I'll read that. I think it was a little bit answered already, but we can circle back. But the question is, Dan Kusher, would it cause any problems if the article were passed at town meeting and the 25 Worcester Street property were given to the trust?
No. I don't think so. I guess it depends how you define problem, but we've been trying to obtain town-owned land for years. Again, it has to be the right situation, and it's the type of thing where we're going to again be partnering with the folks in town. But no, there's no problem with that. Not from our perspective. Okay. So if we have no further questions or comments, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
Okay, the motion passes.
You got to do a roll call.
Oh, thank you. Thomas.
Thomas, aye.
Hayes.
Haynes, aye.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes. It's not as easy to do the parliamentary things via Zoom, but
No.
all right. So yes, thank you. The motion passes. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.